Squirrels! So hello, and welcome to another Legend of a Runeterra video. My name is Chris, and today we'll be playing a very interesting deck indeed. It is, unfortunately, for many of you out there, it is an elusive deck, but I think it is a bit more thematic than most, and I think this is probably what they had in mind when they thought of elusive decks in general. So basically, what is the deck? Well, essentially, it's a sort of recall deck. You recall things, you play them, you know, stuff like Navori Conspirator and Solitary Monk, and essentially you're gonna play a bunch of creatures as well that, you know, like Inspiring Mentor and Navori Blade Scout and Imperial Demolitionist that are all gonna, you know, be good to recall, play them back. They have abilities, Keeper of Masks as well. And of course, you're going to combine this with stuff like Retreat, Return, and then combat tricks to keep stuff alive, like Transfusion and Twin Disciplines. And then you've got Katerina, who's also recalling, and you're attacking multiple times in a turn with your things. And essentially, it's kind of like a combo aggro-y type deck sort of thing. And I am having such a blast with it. It's so much fun to play. It struggled a little bit against like just straight aggro matchups, of course, because you know you kind of need to trade into things, but against more control-y type things, you know, oh, I go for a Grasp of the Undying, I recall and I play back, and I, you know, and for me it's beaten quite a few of, you know, the so-called better decks. Well, not so-called, you know, what people consider the better decks in the meta right now. It seems to have done pretty well against them, for me at least. Not you know, amazing. I wouldn't say this is tier 1, but it's certainly a lot of fun to play. And it feels good to play, like, I mean, I'm not going to say it feels good to play elusives, because I don't like elusives as they are, but it feels better to play in a sort of more thematic way, rather than just, hey, here are all the elusive cards, they're pretty good, hey, like, they aren't as good anymore. And you know, with Shadow Assassin's nerf and whatever, and Solitary Monk's nerf, it feels good playing it with, you know, bringing back Inspiring Mentor. When was the last time you'd seen this card played? Well, it was probably Elusives before it got nerfed, this card, and that was when it was completely broken. And playing it with Katerina and Draven, two of my favorite champions, just feels really good as well. So with that said, let us get in to some games. And so, game numero uno, we find ourselves against what looks to be a War Mother's Control deck, which shouldn't be too bad for us. But with a hand like this, of course, we obviously will probably need a full mulligan here, because we want to find our more early units. Stuff like Inspiring Mentor is, of course, good, and synergizes pretty well with Imperial Demolitionist as well. So we know they're going to be passing a lot of these early turns. We'll probably buff up the Draven, I imagine.
To gain the strength of rivers.
And we'll see what we can do now. They don't have an answer for... now we're in a tough spot. What do we do? Do we play Green Glade? Do I go for the Demolitionist? If he doesn't play a unit, which I don't think he would, most of the time you want to pass turn 1 and 2. And if I go for that, it makes it much more likely that he's on Whale, or, you know, a lot of different things. So I think this is slightly better with the Demolitionist here right now, because of course Whale and Avalanche next turn deal a lot more, whereas the Demolitionist can survive these things. And as I say, he's unlikely to play a unit, so we're getting in the same amount of damage anyway. And obviously Green Glade is pretty good at any point in the game, whereas of course whoa. If you're just going to burn mana like that, I think I have to take it, considering we've got what we do in hand. So right now we could probably play this Draven. And keeping the spell mana bank, not playing anything there, is obviously in our favor. He could go for something like Grasp here, would not be a shock. Or an Avalanche into a Val Feast. So for that, we could Transfusion here onto you, of course, giving the Draven the extra. And I think that is the slightly better play. So let us... well... yeah, I think that's the better play, right? Yeah, let's do it. Kill you, the Inspiring Mentor is gonna die anyway, so it doesn't matter. Unfortunately, the spider can block. Oh no, of course, the avalanche will kill it, so he messed up the timing there. Do I want to deal just as much damage as possible? Gives him a good whale. This 2 extra damage would take him down pretty low, so I don't see why not. With only 1 mana, he shouldn't be able to do too much, so we can deal quite a bit of damage right now. He's on 6 already. 6 with very little mana available to him. Now, of course, the only problem is we are very susceptible to a Withering Whale right now, although now we are less so, and we can go for the recall on the Demolitionist, assuming he doesn't open with it, which he doesn't, which is good for us. So we'll take back the Demolitionist, as this makes us less vulnerable to a Withering Whale. Are we gonna... Is he on 4 mana? He could have second Avalanche, and that obviously would be pretty damaging to us. So I think we just have to end the round. Now, are we going to open attack? I would say Avalanche is still obviously a threat. Let's think about it. We probably do want the Twin Disciplines if we can get it. He's going to block the Draven, although he'd probably go for something like Grasp. I think we have to develop. So it's what do we develop first, because we don't have a great target for this as of right now. But if we play the Keeper of Masks, this makes us vulnerable to a Withering Whale. And then he'd have 4 mana, so he could Whale and Avalanche, that's kind of the problem. So maybe we open Masks. Avalanche is still obviously a threat. He just surrenders. Okay, woohoo! So we got there in the end, and you see how, you know, the synergies, and against control we are normally pretty good, because we've got a lot of combat tricks and the like and that. Ezreal Karma with a Vi thrown in there for good measure. Retreat Return can be pretty good here. Sonic Wave, I'm not sure is super important, and Keeper of Masks I don't think it's doing too much in our opening hand. Duo isn't the best thing we could have got, but it's not terrible. Do I want to play this Blade Scout now, or do I wait? Problem would, of course, man, that's tough. That is tough. I think I play it now, because otherwise Static Shock just is too good. It's just so good if I let him get a Static Shock on turn 3. And I'd rather him Thermo Beam this. This is just like way better for us in general, I think. I think so. Now, am I going to play the Duo without protection? Probably not. There's an interesting one. So we'll play Duo. Static Shock will be incoming, I would have thought. Potentially, no. Do I just pass? Would I ever just pass here? Could that ever be correct, to just pass? He's gonna what? Mystic Shot. Anyway, we can slow that down, but the longer this game goes on, you'd think the worse it would be. I have to keep this protected. Okay, he lets it go through. He ends the round anyway. Okay, that was a good decision. Good decision. Solitary Monk. Pretty good. Pretty good for us. So I think let's even start with that.
And silence as the breeze.
See what he goes for here. Could be a lot of things. 1 Mystic Shot. Obviously fine. And just a pass. Okay. Interessant. Now I could go Duo into Blade Scout into... Oh, do I want Katerina? Because if Katerina can live, then we can really start putting some pressure on. That's when we can really start doing some damage. So it is kind of an interesting choice. I think it's one that we will go for. If I can keep this Katerina alive, we could be okay here. Because it's on 2 and he's just used a Mystic Shot, you know, I'm feeling a bit better about that. Huh. Well, if I attack now, as long as this Katerina hits, then I can afford to sort of develop a lot later on and do what I kind of want to do. So here comes the Static Shock into Steel Tempest. Okay. Steel Tempest. Not what I was expecting. But it's okay. I could use Transfusion now. I think. That's a pretty good Transfusion. No, it wasn't, because of course it's going to kill my Katerina now. That was just a complete mistake. I completely misunderstood the situation there, but it's fine. Now into Thermo Beam. Interesting. Okay, we'll go for this Retreat Return, of course. So I value the return or the 1 damage. Probably being mana efficient is a bit better.
Disturb my meditation.
Was that correct? That transfusion? Should I just use Retreat Return or something like that? Maybe. It's not impossible. So there's a Vi. I don't really want to pass here. So maybe it's Blade Scout, because I want a twin to kill this Vi. I think it probably is Blade Scout.
I try. This.
Can we twin you? Kill the Vi.
Get back here.
Can we play you? I probably should have played Duo first. Thinking about it. But now this is going to be an interesting turn. So obviously we're going to start with that. He's going to Deep Meditation. That's so good for us. This is really good. Okay, let's think. We can play Shadow Assassin and Keeper of Masks if we want. Or we can go Blade Scout, Keeper of Masks. I think Shadow Assassin might be correct. Gets a second Duo. And then into Masks. Gives us a 6-1, which if he lets hit him, he's in massive trouble, of course. So he has to Steel Tempest you. Actually was on a decent amount. So he's on 6. So if we can potentially get him here, even with that... Oh, that's a nice card. Might force him to kill this Keeper of Masks, which of course he doesn't want to do. I don't think I ever care about that. Do I? No. Because I have to make him at least think about killing this Keeper of Masks. Like if he's wasting his removal on this, obviously that is such a benefit for us. What's it gonna be? I get excited on you. What did he discard? Does not tell me. He discards a Will of Ionia, so that's pretty good for us as well. And now he's into Deep Meditation again. Not great, that one isn't. And plays an Ezreal. So that's an elusive blocker. Kind of have to develop, I would have thought, next turn for these Green Glade Duos as much as we can. Sonic Wave is pretty good for the extra 2 attack it's going to give us. Of course, Static Shock hurts quite a bit here, but we have to see what we can do. Concussive Palm, that's okay, actually. Of all of them, that's okay, because he's not going to be able to kill us this turn. But we very well might be able to kill him this turn, especially with this Sonic Wave. Because we can challenge the Ezreal with the Imperial Demolitionist. And then force him to kill something else. And we've got the extra 2 attack as well. So if he Static Shocks here, we've got 3, we've got 5 damage. So well, Static Shock saves him. And we might lose. But anything else and we're good. I think. No Static Shock. Rummage, that's pretty good, but he's still got enough mana for it. He recognizes that's his only kill. Come on! He thought about it. Come on. Come on. Come on. Mystic Shot. Okay. So I guess I go for this. I think this is correct because obviously it spreads out the damage as much as we can. Oh yes! Oh, we got there in the end. Maybe a misplay on that Katerina. It seemed like a misplay at first, but then the more I thought about it, the more I thought we have to end this game as quick as we can. And like Katerina was probably dying the next turn anyway, so maybe it wasn't. Okay, against Deep. Katerina is pretty good against Deep. I think we want 1 Solitary Monk. Transfusion isn't terrible, but maybe we want a bit of an earlier play here as well. Okay, we don't find it, but you know, we'll see what we can do. Maybe I should have kept the transfusion. 20 Toad. Of course, the elusives are kind of what we're looking for here mainly. It does mean that we can open Solitary Monk on this turn, which is pretty nice. And there's not many ways he can deal with that, so that's pretty good as well. Yeah, Wanderer, kind of his best choice. So we'll want to be playing what? That's a nice transfusion. He is getting deep pretty quick here. It's kind of obviously a ideal opening start for him. I might go Demolitionist now, to be honest, because the difference between 3 and 2 is pretty minimal, especially on an elusive, because of course there aren't many ways he can deal 2 damage. As Grasp is kind of the main one. Goes for a salvage right there. Whoa, that's interesting. He's already very close to Deep though. That's a bit of a worry. And obviously the Abyssal Eye is going to be a pretty important one, you would have thought. But this gives us a good blocker on the Wanderer, and that's why I chose to do this now. Because killing this seems pretty important. Now unfortunately we don't have a great choice here, but I could go Keeper of Masks and then recall it with you, the Navori Conspirator. Now, Green Glade duo. I think though I want to go Katerina into this Conspirator. So maybe let's do that. Sort of hope for no Abyssal Eye, but even with Abyssal Eye, I'm kind of okay. There it is. So that's actually not bad at all. Because now we can happily trade these. We've got quite a few ways of dealing with things. We can just open attack there. If he blocks here, that's fine. Do I want to go for Transfusion? I'm not sure it's that important, so I'll just go for the Blade's Edge and kill it now before it gets deep. I'm actually more worried about these when, of course, they are 6/6s. With no mana, there's nothing you can do. Yeah, we get the Blade's Edge, and getting this Katerina leveled up could be pretty important, because now, knowing essentially he can't tap out. He can't tap out of mana, because I'm just going to continually play Katerina on him, and that's obviously going to be very bad for him. Drawing second Katerina, by the way, is never what you want. There's an Expiring Mentor, that's pretty good as well. We can put that on the duo. 2 damage means absolutely nothing. So yeah, we can put this on the duo. Very good transfusion target as well, of course, Inspiring Mentor. Pilfered Goods, whoa, that can't be correct in a deep deck. You understand how deep works, right? Now, that is pretty bad against us, of course, because we do run elusives. So I think right now, probably go for Green Glade. The thing is, I don't think playing Draven, well, it gives us an axe. Maybe that's what it's worth. It does give us an axe. Of course, he's just going to block it with this, so I'm not even sure I want to attack with Draven. Maybe I do for Katerina. So maybe I will. You wouldn't run Ruination in that kind of deck, really, would you? Would you run Ruination? He wants to play Nautilus, of course, this turn most likely. Which means this could be the only good Draven attack we get in case he's got something. We can even attack with the Mental here. Yeah, I kind of like this attack. This is what Katerina, of course, allows you to do. And we'll see what this is. Whale. Okay. So we can go for a transfusion. Probably on... If I hit Draven. Yeah, I can go for Draven onto you. I could go for second whale, and that's obviously pretty bad, but the one is fine. Get the old spinning axe as well. Does get him a bit closer to deep, but he's only got 5 mana left. So if he wants to play a unit here, which he might be forced to, we're still in pretty good shape. So he does just play a unit. We can of course go for Katerina. And then we can go for this Keeper of Masks as well. And with the spinning axes. And everyone getting more attack. These two are lethal anyway. And we get there, and this deck, this deck is spicy. So, the last deck I showed on this channel was a Viley Sin deck, and it was one that I thought no one had really made before. This one is, I think, a little closer to like the Elusive Burn that we saw a bit before, but is a bit different and I think a bit more thematic. I love these thematic decks that like no one has really tried before, but are there to be played and are just a lot of fun and pretty good. I mean, that's the thing. If they designed them, obviously, with these decks kind of in mind, then, you know, they're going to be pretty good. That's probably what they wanted us to play, right? I really, really like this deck. A lot. And even though it's elusives, it feels different. It doesn't feel like normal elusives. It feels synergistic. It's not playing elusives just because we're playing elusives. It's got that synergy. And I did think about, you know, Windfarer Hatchling. I thought about even Captain Farron in this deck. And if you do have any suggestions for this deck, please let me know. Because in the last deck that I showed, the Viley Sin one, you know, someone pointed out, hey, why don't you play Chump Wump? And it was like, oh yeah, completely forgot about Chump Wump. And, you know, it fits well within the deck and is an important card in the deck now. So yeah, this is the deck we are going to be playing. Now, I've heard a lot from people about, oh, mobile users, you know, can you put a link for it? From what I've heard, you know, if you, it's actually the YouTube app can't copy things, and if you go on Google or Safari or whatever, you can copy the links. But what I will do from now on probably is I'll finally make myself a Mobalytics page and you know, do all of that, get all the decks up on there that I'm currently playing with or whatever, experimenting with, and you can just copy the link. This one is called Pilates. Is that spelt right? I don't know, but it's called Pilates because, you know, it's a lot of movement and, you know, you're going back and forwards and stuff like that. So that's probably what it'll be called. And yeah, a lot of fun. My name is Chris. Thank you so much for watching. Have a really nice day.